Now, can you tell me something about your brothers and sisters?
Now, my mother, she had 9 children altogether. The first one died. Was born there or something like I didn't understand. Then I had 3 sisters, Violet, Matilda and Ruby, and I had 4 brothers, if not 5. I had, one was named Percy, he was the oldest, and there was Sid, Floyd and Fred, and Harry, that's it, and Harry. Now, we lost 2 of my brothers. One was 17, and they used to have football on the meadow every Saturday, and the mother and father used to go into town and do the shopping, as I just said, and of course they were left there on their own, and they got a bad cold, and she told them that they were not to go out on any account, and warned them and everything, but there you are. They went and stood about watching the football in the bitter cold, and they both got pneumonia.
You said something about Floyd and Fred. Tell me about your other brothers.
Well, my
you got Sid and Harry.
yes, I had 4 brothers, 5 brothers. My oldest brother, he was when he was old enough, he went into the Grenadier Guards at London, and of course he used to wear the red tunic because he was proud and he was a fine man and that sort of thing, and to get in the Grenadier Guards you had to be in those days. And I can remember my father and mother went up there to see him in the barracks, and the soldiers, they had a game with me being young, and they farmed all my hair up with grease, and they put this busby on, you know, and all that sort of thing, and that was fine. Anyway, when the 14, then when he finished his time in the army, he did what most of them, he went into the police force, and he went through his training at Brentwood, which was a training school, and then from that he got his beat in Chelmsford, and we just settled down, got his house, and his wife was expecting a baby and all that, and war broke out. Well, you see, he was on the reserves, and within a fortnight of war being declared, he was back in the army, and the Grenadier Guards and the Irish Guards, they went over to France in the first boatload, and from there they went straight to Mons, and the officer in charge was told to go round the wood, Mons Wood. Instead of that, he took a shortcut through the wood, and that was surrounded by Germans with machine guns, and they were machine gunned, and there was only 2 survivors out of the lot, and they were the only 2 that could tell us everything, what had happened. Yeah.
So what happened about Sid?
Well then, my brother Sid, he first of all he went to work in the brickyard, and then he went to work on the railway. In those days, when the train ran into the station, they used to have a man with a long handled hammer, and he used to walk along and you could hear him tapping the wheels, and he was touching the axle boxes to see if any of them were running hot. Well then, on the platform, that side of the train, they had to have somebody who was nimble, and therefore they had a young lad, and that was my brother, what he used to do, and he used to walk along and keep nipping down between the carriage and the platform, touching the axle boxes as he walked along to see if they were running hot. Yeah, then I had 2 brothers who, one was 17 and one was 11, Harry and Floyd. Well, every Saturday they used to have football in the winter on a meadow near the station, and every Saturday my mother and father used to go to Colchester to do the shopping and buy anything that they wanted and so on. Well, she warned my brother Floyd first, who was 17, that he was not to go and watched the footballers. That was a bit of cold wind and that kind of thing. And she also, my other younger brother, 11, same thing happened to him. He had a bad cold, and the same thing, she warned him. They both disobeyed her and went there and stood in the freezing cold. And when they come home, of course, they developed pneumonia. And in those days, there was nothing, only a linseed poultice on the chest, and kettle with the lungs poked to it, and they were breathing the steam and all that. And the same thing applied to that. And when the 14-18 war finished, there was that terrible epidemic of flu, and people died like flies in those days. And their only remedy then was linseed poultices. But once you got it, there was no cure for it, and people just perished. No end of people died there.
Tell me about your sisters.
Now, I had 3 sisters. My oldest sister, Violet, she lived till she was 95. And my other sister, Matilda, she lived till about the same, well, not quite the same age, but I believe she was about 83. 93 or something like that. And my brother Sid, which when he left to examine the wheels on the station, went into the loco and became an engine driver. When he retired, he went to live at Calverton, and all his life he'd had a hernia. And he hadn't the pluck to go and have it operated on and done. And of course, it got worse and worse, and it got so bad he had to go in hospital and have it done. And while he was in there, he contracted pneumonia and he died.
Pneumonia again?
Pneumonia, yeah.
What about your other sisters? You told me about
Then
Violet and
I got
Matilda.
a sister was alive. My other 2 sisters, of course, they've gone. But I've got a sister alive now, and she's 85. And it must be now 30 odd years or more when we were informed that she'd got this multiple sclerosis. Well, where some people, when they get it, they don't last very long, or many years at least. She's still alive, but she's very, very poorly. But I mean, to think that she's lived all these years with us is really marvellous.